This is the story of the slave who built an empire and defied the British. In the 19th century, long before Nigeria became a nation, there was an African ruler who stood firmly against the expanding power of the British Empire. He was not born a king, neither was he born wealthy. In fact, he began his life as a slave. But all of this could neither deter nor dissuade him. Through intelligence, determination, and extraordinary business skill, he rose from being a captive to becoming one of the richest and most influential men in West Africa. The slave's name was King Jaja of Opobo. He built a successful and prosperous city. He controlled a huge trading network. He challenged British economic interests and became one of the foremost African leaders to kick against the colonial dominance. His rise was very remarkable. His fall as well was thoughtfully engineered, and his story has remained one of the most interesting chapters in the African history. This is the story of King Jaja of Opobo, the audacious slave who became a king and dared to stand against an empire. Around 1821, a boy named Mbanaso Okwara Uzurunga was born in the Igbo-speaking region of present-day Imo State, Nigeria. There are no much established facts about his early childhood, but about 12 years old, tragedy struck. He was captured during local conflicts and was sold into slavery. For many children that were enslaved, this would have marked the end of their hopes and dreams. But for Jaja, it was merely the beginning. He was transported to Bonny, one of the most important ports used for trading in the Niger Delta. There, he was bought by a certain trader who renamed him Jubuha. Consequently, he was sold again to Chief Alali, who was the head of the powerful and renowned Ant Purple House. Although technically enslaved, Jaja had great qualities that quickly distinguished him from others. He was intelligent, he was disciplined, he was observant, and he had an exceptional talent for commerce. In order to understand Jaja's rise, we must first understand Bonny. Bonny was one of the many wealthy city-states in the Niger Delta. For centuries, these city-states made enormous profits from trade with Europeans. At first, the trade centered on enslaved people, but after Britain abolished the transatlantic slave trade in 1807, a new commodity became the new sheriff in town. The commodity was palm oil. Palm oil was in great demand during the Industrial Revolution. European factories used it for soap production, machinery lubrication, candles, and many other products. The Niger Delta region would become one of the world's most important sources of palm oil. This new economic boom created many opportunities. Jaja seized these opportunities. While working with the Ant Purple House, he proved himself to be a brilliant trader. His business successes generated enormous profits. Eventually, he gained his freedom. By his 20s and 30s, Jaja had already become one of the most respected businessmen in Bonny. When Chief Alali died, the Ant Purple House was burdened with debts and internal problems. Many people avoided the leadership position. Jaja did the opposite. He accepted the challenge. Using his business expertise and acumen, he transformed the struggling house into the most successful trading organization in Bonny. The profits increased, the influence expanded, and the rivals became jealous. As Jaja's power increased, political tensions within Bonny intensified. Conflicts erupted between competing factions. Eventually, Jaja and his supporters decided to leave Bonny altogether. This was a bold and risky decision. Most leaders would have feared starting over again, but Jaja saw an opportunity. In 1870, Jaja founded a new town. He called it Opobo. The location was carefully chosen, situated between the European merchants on the coast and the palm oil producers in the interior. Opobo occupied one of the most strategic trading positions in West Africa. The move transformed regional commerce. Soon, 14 of Bonny's 18 major trading houses relocated to Opobo. Trade that once enriched Bonny now flowed through Jaja's new city. Within a few years, Opobo became one of the most prosperous commercial centers in the Niger Delta. Jaja was no longer merely a successful businessman, he was now King Jaja of Opobo. King Jaja understood something many African rulers of his era did not. Economic power was the foundation of political power. Instead of relying entirely on European middlemen, he began exporting palm oil directly to Britain. This was revolutionary. For generations, European companies had controlled most international trade routes. Jaja disrupted that system. He negotiated directly with foreign buyers, he controlled access to inland producers, he imposed duties on foreign traders, and he accumulated extraordinary wealth. By the 1880s, he was widely regarded as one of the richest men in West Africa. Some historians even described him as one of Nigeria's earliest international business magnates. To the British trading firms, however, Jaja's success was becoming a problem. Britain's ambition in Africa were changing. What had begun as trade was becoming empire. Across the continent, European powers were dividing territories among themselves. The period became known as the Scramble for Africa. The British wanted unrestricted access to the palm oil markets. Jaja stood in their way. He refused to surrender control of trade. He insisted that foreign merchants respect Opobo's laws and pay duties. British officials accused him of obstructing commerce. In reality, Jaja was defending his nation's economic sovereignty. For years, tensions escalated, threats were exchanged, diplomatic pressure increased, but Jaja refused to. In 1887, British Vice Consul Harry Johnston invited King Jaja to what was presented as a peaceful diplomatic meeting aboard a British vessel. After repeated assurances, King Jaja agreed. It was a decision he would come to regret. Once aboard the ship, he was informed that he was under arrest. The king, who had built a commercial empire, was now a prisoner. He was transported to the Gold Coast, present-day Ghana. A colonial tribunal accused him of obstructing trade and violating treaties. The outcome had already been decided. Jaja was found guilty. He was exiled thousands of miles to St. Vincent in the Caribbean. The British has removed their greatest obstacle in the Niger Delta. In exile, Jaja remained a symbol of resistance. His removal shocked many African rulers. If a king as powerful as Jaja could be arrested and deported, what chance did others have? Many chiefs throughout the Niger Delta quickly submitted to the British authority. The balance of power had shifted. After many years of petitions and public pressure, British authorities finally allowed Jaja to return home, but fate intervened. In 1891, while traveling back to Nigeria, King Jaja died before reaching Opobo. He never saw the kingdom he built again. Rumors circulated that he had been poisoned. No conclusive evidence has ever proven the claim. The mystery remains unresolved to this day. Although King Jaja died far from home, his legacies endured. He demonstrated that Africans could build powerful commercial enterprise capable of competing with European interests. He showed that economic independence could serve as a form of political resistance. Most importantly, he exposed the true nature of European colonial ambitions. The British had claimed to seek free trade, but when an African ruler succeeded on his own terms, they removed him. Today, King Jaja of Opobo is remembered as a visionary leader, a brilliant entrepreneur, and one of the earliest African opponents of colonial domination. His story remains a powerful reminder that courage is not measured by victory alone. Sometimes, courage is measured by the willingness to stand firm against overwhelming odds. King Jaja's journey began in chains, it ended in exile. But between these two moments, he built a kingdom, transformed regional trade, and challenged one of the most powerful empires in history. More than a century after his death, his name still echoes across the Niger Delta, not merely a king, not merely a trader, but as a symbol of African resilience, ambition, and resistance. And that is why the story of King Jaja of Opobo deserves to be remembered even in times to come.